Siri, order parmesan for both houses. Morning. Lovely day for it. Ah, Pep, great, I need you. Completely incompetent. The last time I ordered pomegranates, they sent me kumquats.
Cut there. Great. Do you want one of those, please? Sorry, it's split on me.
The biggest hurdles are, they're all technical. They're all about the limitations of the physical reality of the system.
We learnt a lot shooting this. The screens do have their limitations. You know, they're ultimately sort of a soft LED source, really, and they're not punchy.
We'll have just the blue, please, on them to match the ceiling.
You're sort of polluting by using these outer screens. You're polluting the contrast level in the back screen. You know, it becomes milkier.
They've gone a bit cloggy, haven't they? Yeah. Yeah. So I think it'd be worth overall just looking a little bit.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it's to do with the skylight and ambient light, and if the only way to do that is to lower the ambient light, which is a whole scene thing.
Top screen and background are too close. I think you want as much distance between them. The top screen needs to be on motors so you can angle it away. I think you want to run a shelf between the two, so the top screen isn't lighting the back screen.
Craig, take global contrast down to 1.25, please.
So that's looking better, isn't it?
Moving forward, I think it'd be vital that Craig is sat next to our lighting desktop. They're running similar software. You know, you want to calibrate their systems in similar ways because they use different kind of currencies to what we use in our sort of practical filming world, in terms of, you know, the amount of green or magenta in a light. You know, we talk in eighths or quarters or halves, and he was, you know, rotating a colour wheel, which affects other things. So, given enough time in prep, you know, you could get to a really good place where Craig isn't having to sort of interpret what we're asking for, and we're not interpreting what Craig is offering.
Well, what we're going to have is a loose particulate, so we can judge.
We went through a discovery of what the working practices are between the two worlds, because there's a cultural difference between game design and film design, and what artists think their role is within game design, and in terms of narrative design, it's just like it's a different process. You know, if you place something in the environment, there is a story to that. There's a story to everything in this room around us. Never mind the physical, but the actual environment we're sitting in right now. But there is a timeline to the placement of every object, and someone has interacted with that. And what I think it's going to require moving forward is those artists who are working in that world to become much more holistic in their worldview of how things are or how things work, so that they understand the meaning behind the placement of objects.
All right, here we go then, folks. Still and quiet, please. Clearing the eye line as much as possible, please.
It's really important when you're running a floor to make sure that the cast don't start feeling supernumerary to the technical side of things. And the technicians from the virtual world are just getting used to working with cast, and it's a different process for them. And it's quite disruptive because every time you change lens on a camera, there's an impact time-wise on recalibration. And when we were trying to shoot with the camera still in the set, but the camera was right on the edge of the next set of trackers, so we were shooting out in Tripoli, the boom poles were causing issues with the tracking signals.
We need to have minimal people around the trackers, so we need to clear right back.
I think in total we lost, in a 5-day shoot, we lost 7 hours to the wall. So it's quite a lot to have to reschedule.
You were very much in profile yesterday. That's what's in your face.
And also we realised really late how noisy the set was, until that first day when we did rehearsals, called the place to quiet and thought, wow, it was so loud. So we were really lucky. We spoke to Dimension, and they have these custom-built acoustic sound boxes, so they could put most of the server into these sound boxes, and it made a huge difference.
I think the biggest single limitations, and these are things I think which will improve quite quickly over the next year or two, really come down to the quality of the image that can be created by the LED screen itself. There's an absolute limit on the resolution, which is the physical spacing between the LEDs. So if you're on a very long lens and you're shooting into a small portion of that screen, you're probably only seeing a few hundred pixels.
The scene that we used at the beginning was so complex. They contain character animation a lot, like 200 characters with motion captures animation on that. We have different trucks with more than 100 shaders to make it look photoreal.
We have to optimise as much as possible while still retaining the realistic look, and that involves things in the distance need to be low quality or just enough quality to still look real but perform well.
Virtual production perhaps uses 10-15% maximum of the functionality in the games engine in Unreal, but it'll take 100% of whatever compute power you present, because you just never have enough of that.
Imagine you have 4 computers compute different part of the images. This is what's happened on the massive wall. We have 4 different sections, and the render performance need to be perfectly balanced. Sometimes it's not, because one part of the screen have more animated characters and some part of the screen is empty.
For some things, we're not quite there yet, but we're chipping away at it. And over the next year, we're going to see a lot of the gap between where we are now real time and where the non-real time VFX pipeline is closing, getting shorter and shorter.